Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Oana.
Okay, so we are going to talk about booming Las Vegas.
Woohoo!
Las Vegas is booming. There are, of course, the economy is volatile. Some segments are doing really well. Some segments are not doing very well. But travel and tourism and entertainment is doing extremely well.
What we're known for.
And that's what we are. And because of that, the economy locally is strong because we have full employment here. Actually, we have the opposite problem where we have more jobs than available than people. So
Right.
yeah. Okay, so there was an article that we read that just came out. And what's cool about it is it has all of the data for the casinos. And you're going to be shocked when we give you this data. The title of the article was, "As the Economy Sputters, the Party Goes On in Vegas."
So, look, Vegas is always volatile, but no matter what, Vegas is always a party city, right? Even during the pandemic, when other places were shut down, we were open. We were only closed for a couple of weeks, and the rest of the time we opened, and we had a lot of tourists come. Bless you, thank you, we appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
And Vegas is always about what's new, what's exciting, and about reinventing itself, and about giving the people that come here, showing you a good time.
Despite a procession of frightening economic numbers, casinos are booming. Casinos have always done well in recessions because people come to Vegas to blow off steam and want to have some fun when economic times are bad.
Right. Well, so keep in mind, and this is a really old thing that everybody knows. During economic uncertainty, during economic downturns, casinos do well, lotteries do well, because people have this sense of wanting to bet on the future.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why during all of this turbulent time, Las Vegas and the gaming industry are doing well.
Las Vegas was in 2020, which was the first pandemic year. Las Vegas was actually the number one destination it had the most flights in and out of any other U.S. city. So people were coming like crazy. Now, remember, we were closed for a short period of time, but we reopened earlier before everybody else. So people were coming here, and it was super cheap, right?
Yes.
There were places where the room was free, and then you just had to pay the resort fee.
Right.
And then there were places where they waived the resort fee, but then everything was basically like almost free. Like it was super free.
Well, so what they were doing is they were charging you the resort fee, but then they were giving you credit for like food and drinks and things like that. So it was basically you were getting paid to stay at the property.
Yeah. U.S. travel spending surpassed 2019 levels for the third month in a row in June. So that's the high, hitting the new post-pandemic high of $105 billion. U.S. Travel Association said Thursday. And Vegas is among the top destinations reaping the benefits.
Yep.
So Vegas benefits. So you're probably wondering, how did the casinos do? So we have two large corporations, Oana, that basically run most of the casinos.
Right. So, Frank Sinatra and Bugsy Siegel and those guys are gone.
They're gone.
They've been replaced by...
There's a new mafia in town.
The new mafia.
They have Corp
Yes.
at the end.
Yes. So now we have Caesars Entertainment.
Caesars Entertainment.
And we have MGM.
MGM. Okay, there's some smaller ones out there, but these are the big boys. These have very large footprints. But if you go to most places on the Strip, you're going to find that they're owned by MGM or Caesars. That we have the off-strip place, we have the Coast casinos, right, and the Station casinos. They're owned by separate billionaires,
right?
But the Strip is basically Caesars and MGM. That's where all the tourists go. MGM Resorts International posted a 44% increase in revenue in the second quarter, which the company said was driven by its Las Vegas casinos' net revenue of $1.6 billion, which beat out quarter two of 2019 pre-pandemic revenue of $1.4 billion. So we're already exceeding 2019.
So 44% increase?
In the quarter over quarter.
That's crazy.
And we beat 2019 by 200 million. okay,
Wow.
in a quarter. At Caesars, Vegas casinos made $1.1 billion in revenue, up 34% year over year, and the company's Vegas hotels were at 97% capacity, earning the most quarterly hotel room revenues in Caesars history. So the casinos are making more money they have ever made in 97% capacity.
Right.
That's literally the rooms. I mean, it's a weekend, it's probably sold out.
Right. So, why is this happening? Look, all of us were cooped up for a couple years, and people are traveling. They're not just traveling to Las Vegas, they're traveling everywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. Airplanes are full, hotels are full. There's a long line to check in, long line to check out. No matter where you go, if it's a tourist destination, it is packed.
Something interesting. The economy, as people know, we've had 2 quarters of negative growth, so that's technically a recession. But when you're out there, it doesn't feel like if you were just walking around and you said, "Hey, do you think we're in a recession?" People would be like, "No." It's like, "You kidding me? This is like boomtown." Part of that is because, we still have less flights, airline flights, than we do in 2019, because we have these supply constraint issues. We have aircraft manufacturers can't deliver planes. We have ATC that still hasn't figured their staffing issues out, right? Airlines are still trying to train people and hire and do all that stuff. And then you have other countries in Europe that have basically said, "Hey, we can only take 1 million people a day," like Heathrow said. So they are limiting the number of flights that go in there now. So people that are traveling are saying, "Oh, hey, look, there are going to be less flights and less seats, so we're going to raise the prices." So we don't really, it doesn't seem like there's a recession, especially in Vegas. Like when you go to Vegas, we were just on this trip yesterday, right? And it was packed.
Yes.
Like it was literally packed.
Yeah, we were at the Bellagio yesterday, and it was packed. As a matter of fact, I wish I would have taken a picture. The line for people to check in at the front desk, it was a Disneyland line. It was crazy. I mean, there had to have been over 100 people in that line.
It's the longest I've ever seen.
Yes.
And every station.
Yeah.
At the thing.
At the check-in, they
They
had people. As far as staff, every single desk for check-in was manned. So it wasn't that they didn't have enough staff to get through the people. It was that they had so many people to get through that they simply couldn't get through them fast enough.
Yeah. Las Vegas tourism officials said visits were up 12% year over year in June. Nevada state gambling revenue was $1.3 million in June, the record 16th month in a row of gambling revenue over $1 billion. So it's a record. 16 months in a row. Pre-pandemic, we never beaten this. The fiscal year ended June, posts a record gambling revenue of $14.6 billion, 37% higher than 2019.
Right. And again, this just speaks to everybody's desire to travel for entertainment, to just get out and do things that they simply couldn't do during the pandemic.
Okay, so let's talk about, because this is a real estate channel. We haven't talked about real estate, so we're going to talk about real estate now. How does this affect jobs, which affect home buying, and which affects investors and all that? What's the net effect of this? Because everyone's saying home prices are now going to go down and all these homes are going to come on the market, but we have boomtown happening,
right,
in the economy.
So a couple things. So let's kind of start with homes in general. Everybody needs a place to live.
Okay.
As far as homes being affordable for people to purchase, obviously the rise in interest rate has negatively impacted that. As far as rentals are concerned, rentals also went up over the last couple of years.
Substantially.
We have, Nevada has midterm elections for governor. And so we have our governor race happening now, and we'll be voting in November. And one of the things that is a hot button issue in the governor's race is the cost of rental properties, as far as what tenants pay and whether or not we're going to have rent control and that sort of thing. So that's going to be something interesting to watch as the race unfolds, and then whoever wins. Also, Nevada, our legislature meets every other year. Our legislature meets in the odd years. We are in an even year this year, so we're safe.
Yes, no new laws.
But come January, watch out. They'll be in session until May, and they will go through a really long agenda of new laws, including visiting some sort of rent control. So that is going to definitely be on the agenda. Whether or not it passes, that's left to be determined.
Yep.
But that is very much on the agenda. It is on the discussion for the people running for governor. It is on the discussion for the people running for really all the elected offices in Carson City that impact the laws of our state.
The current legislature and the governor, all Democrats, the Senate, the House, and the governor, they did not, the last time when they were all first elected, did not pass any sweeping changes. Not significant, like not California style. Some minor increase changes.
They were substantial for us. We'll put it
for Nevada.
For us, that they were substantial, but they did not include as far as any limits on rent increases or anything like that.
All right, which are the important ones. Okay,
Yes.
So what happens if the state flips red? That's probably maybe another video, but it's not highly likely there will be that if Republicans took over, they would decide to come in and sweeping rent control, right? They just tend not to do that in Nevada.
They tend not to do that. I'm a fan of letting the market decide.
Yeah.
So it always makes me uncomfortable when the legislature is in session, because while they have good intentions, the unintended consequences sometimes are so much more so much more impactful than what was intended.
Okay. What about real estate home prices long term? We have a growing economy. We have some new resorts that are being built, that are being expanded. We have current hotels at capacity. We have flights at capacity. The conventions have come back. We just went to one. We went to Inman, Real Estate Tech Conference. And people have jobs. People have money to spend. Every time we go out to dinner or whatever, the restaurants are packed. You have to have a reservation. It's almost, like New York City used to be. New York City's not like that anymore. We were just there. We spent a month there. You could just go out to a restaurant, walk in at 8 and get a table, right? And you couldn't do that 3 years ago, and now you can. How is that owed long? Forget interest rates, because interest rates could go back down or whatever. But if interest rates go back down, there's nothing wrong with the Las Vegas economy.
No, I mean, Las Vegas has other issues, but our economy, for the most part, is strong. The nice thing about our economy is that our economy has expanded beyond gaming, which is wonderful, because it's always scary when you're just a one industry economy. So we do have other industries relocating to Las Vegas, partly because of the pandemic. So that's been an upside for us. So that's good. I think that Las Vegas has a lot to offer, and I think people who come to visit and people who look for a business-friendly environment see Las Vegas as a potential. And so I think that Las Vegas will continue to grow. I mean, obviously our water supply is a concern for everybody as we grow, and that's something that's going to have to be addressed on an ongoing basis, because we do live in the Mojave Desert.
We do. We live in the desert, and it's hot. It was hot today. It was over 100.
Yes, it was.
The nice thing about that is we return 99% of the indoor household water. We recycle and reuse.
Right.
We put it back in the lake, and then we just pull it back out of the lake through the standpipe. And even though the lake's going down, that's water because it's going downstream.
Right.
Yeah. And we did a whole video on that, talking about why we wouldn't run out of water. Another thing that's happening here economically is we're getting Tesla is opening they're going to make I don't know if they're going to make batteries, but they're going to mine lithium in southern Nevada. They bought a bunch of land.
Right.
And they're going to go mine lithium. And that's going to, I don't know how many people it's going to be, but it's probably a lot. But like you said, these are not entertainment jobs. These are other jobs. Nevada is already very big in the electric vehicle and battery manufacturing because we have the Giga plant up north.
Right, and we're very big in mining. I mean, we're a huge mining state.
We're actually the largest mining state for gold and silver and potentially other things that we're not really sure about. But for sure, we're the number one gold and silver. Right. And the nickname of Nevada is the Silver State. Right. That's our motto.
So, the thing about mines is they do have good paying jobs. They just don't have a lot of them for, per the size of the facility. So that's something that we wish that it required more jobs, so that those would be more high skilled, high paying jobs that would come here.
Yeah. So, well, the reason why we made this video is because we're trying to provide a broad overview of what's actually happening in Las Vegas. I was actually surprised when I read through the article, because I didn't realize. I knew that that revenues were up and that people were back, but I didn't realize these were record-setting quarters and 16 consecutive months of over $1 billion in gaming revenue, which is a record. It's never happened before. And there's no slowdown to the airport here in Las Vegas. They're actually adding more gates. We're at times we're turning in like LAX. I think it's the 7th largest airport now in the U.S.
And it's a beautiful airport. If you've been to Las Vegas, we actually have a beautiful airport.
When I was a kid, there were no jet bridges. That's how long ago it was. They didn't physically have jet bridges. The planes pulled up to the terminal in parking spots, and the plane would pull up, and they would pull up the little jetway. You would walk down on the ramp and walk into one building, and then you would go. And that building is physically still there. I think it's called Terminal 2. It's a little building. Then they built Terminal 1, which is the old terminal that was the only terminal for a while, and then now they have Terminal 3. But if you go find Terminal 2, it's this little bitty building, and that was actually the original terminal. And I want to say it had 8 parking spots or something in the 70s. It was actually really small. And it's a hub for a few airlines too.
Right. So we do. I mean, Las Vegas Airport is actually an international airport, not just in name only. We do have flights from all kinds of places, including Norway and Austria and Germany and lots of places in Central America and South America. So it's a pretty busy airport, and it does bring people from all over the world.
And another interesting statistic is we have the most number of commercial airline pilots per capita.
Do we?
In Nevada.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we have the most per capita.
Okay.
Then other states have quite a few too. Florida has a lot, but Nevada has the most per capita. That's the thing. There was a chart that came out a long time ago that basically had what every state had the most of, the highest income earners. And Nevada was actually airline pilots. And it's because Southwest has a big base. Then you have all the pilots who commute to LA and San Fran for all the major airlines that live here. They can live here and commute out there and not pay California taxes.
Right.
So there's actually over 1,000 airline pilots that live.
Right, but they're not all in Southern Nevada. A lot of them live up at Lake Tahoe and
they're all over, but they're in Nevada.
Yes.
Okay. Las Vegas is booming. What this means to me personally is, having grown up here and everything, and having seen the city change, is it has a great future. And as long as they don't get crazy with overbuilding in real estate, then this is, it's still a good place to invest. It's still a good place to buy a house. And the last 30 years, except for one little period of 3 or 4 years, every year, any 2-year, year-over-year window, home prices went up.
Right.
Except for, like I said, there was a 4-year period where home prices were dropping substantially. Right. But any other time, if you bought a house, you made money on it.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's going to happen the next 2 years, but if I had to pick, someone asked me on the video actually, what do you think is going to happen in 5 years? And my answer was simply, I don't plan on selling any rental houses or selling my personal house in the next 5 years.
Right.
So I think it's just going to get better.
Absolutely. And, Las Vegas has come a long way. When I moved here 24 years ago, my first summer here, it rained, as it does every summer, because that's monsoon season. And what I remember, the most memorable thing for me from that summer was that we had a big rainstorm, and there was so much water that there were semi-trucks floating down Boulder Highway over by Samstown. So if you're familiar with Las Vegas, that's what I remember seeing. And Las Vegas has come such a long way from there, because they have put in lots of really good infrastructure to deal with the monsoon rains. We have so many retention basins and all kinds of new ways to deal with the water that comes really fast, as it does in the desert. And we have had very little flooding, if any, over the last few years as far as homes being damaged, and I certainly have not seen any semis floating down Boulder Highway. So Las Vegas has taken a lot of steps as far as infrastructure to protect homes and to be a good place to live and a safe place to live.
Speaking of monsoon rains, we get 4 inches of rain annually, which isn't very much here in Las Vegas. But half of that comes in just 8 days.
Right.
And then all the rest of the year we get the other 2 inches. So we get basically 2 inches in 8 days, and the rest of the year we don't get any. We get very little.
I think we got that last week.
Last week was definitely one of those days. Okay. If you liked our video, please share it with your friends, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave us a comment, and thank you for watching. We will see you on the next video.
Bye.
Bye.